I love what you were saying, Justin. Yeah, I think it's really, yeah, the financial, right? The financial insecurity. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's difficult, right? And if you're, it's especially just, what you're saying, like when people are waking up, more and more to like, really what's going on you know, in the world, right? Then that doesn't usually spurn people to then go and want to like, just earn a bunch of money, just because as the goal, right? So, but there's still, yeah. So it's like, how do we deal? How do we support ourselves and work with that financial insecurity when we're trying to, also be in, do this good work in these kind of organizations that you're talking about. So yeah, I appreciate that. Um, yeah, so let me, right, and just to say, Newman, so right, so there's a huddle. If you want to put the link in the chat, Justin, to your huddle. I mean, I had that somewhere, but I don't want to dig it up right now. Yeah, it's very cool. It's it's something that I was looking at, really wanting to do. And it's really, a group of a small group of people that like are facilitating, helping like it, like creating, co-facilitating, each other, as peers into, with helping each other, on their projects, on their endeavors, finding what, exploring and discovering what it is that they're doing, where they want to use their agency, where they're, all of that. I'm not explaining it, as well as Justin, would, but this is coming in. And yeah, and right, like you said, the reason that I felt like I just couldn't do it at that time is because, like there's something that's really here that's, wanting to launch now, and attempting. And yeah, I'd love to, sort of talk about, about HSC and get some, thoughts from you, Justin, and Newman. But to kind of transition in, into kind of in the HSC, part. And I know Newman, I saw you had some, you had a couple of ideas for things that we could do before maybe we launch right into, the meeting part. But I've just been thinking about, right, like this launch and this member portal. And Justin, there's not a lot of people, right, here at the meetings now. I think that, that's because there's, we kind of launched this like phase one, or like this phase two, super like agency thing. And a lot of people, that were excited about that, and then realized that, that really was, sort of further on down in the roadmap. And now we're kind of starting again with this phase two period. And I think, now just kind of like starting to call people back in and say, just as of like this, this week, and next couple of weeks, call people back in and say, hey, okay, now there's this, we've got this platform, we're going to try again, in this, really kind of foundational way. So, now we'll see, hopefully in the next, few weeks and, few months there, if this is of value to people, then folks will be joining in, more. So that's what I wanted to say. We can, talk about, a little more about what our agenda is for today and what we, want to, go over and explore and accomplish. But before we do that, Newman, you had some ideas as far as something to kind of start us off before we really delve into the meeting. Would you like to share?
Yeah, I would love, especially if it's one of those sort of pizza day, which I'm like, I can like add it to the shortcuts in my brain. um, uh, Silence and listening, and I'm just going through the the ULab 1X, and I think Rob, we talked about that before. It's the first time that I've gone through it with this, but I see a real similarity with another course that I did from the Pachamama Alliance called the Game Changer Intensive, and it's anyway, the thing that both of those courses, the ULab 1X and the Game Changer Intensive, is that they talk about awareness and sensing and getting kind of grounded, or grounded, maybe a loaded term, but just sort of present. As a matter of fact, the ULab is called Presencing Institute. It's just like, oh yeah, like get your faculties here. Um, and I think that okay, so there's that thing. And then there's like in organizations, uh, like what are interventions that we can do? And one of those things, I think, like small interventions that have like a wide impact. And one of those things is just part of the culture is that, oh yeah, we sit still before we begin things. Uh, and in each of my communities that have done this, it's just there's a different tone and quality. Um, and so my thought was that we could do some form of like beginning, either, and the suggestions were just like 2 minutes of quiet, like sitting, just sort of like, oh, look, we've got these three people who are going to choose to be quiet and still for an amount of time. And that I think has power. And then I was like, well, we may need some like backing or some type of thing. And I thought about the power poses. And the lady that sort of became famous for this is that she did a TED talk, Amy Cuddy. So if you do a search for power pose, you got there along. And then I found a video from Tony Robbins, and he's got like a thing that he calls his morning priming, which is like got some qigong and breath work, that was pretty cool, or some type of meditation. And the idea would be we would choose a time, 30 seconds, a minute, 2 minutes. Probably 2 minutes is too. 3 minutes might be like too long. And then we would just make a commitment and fulfill that commitment. Here at the beginning of meetings. What do you all think? Oh, Justin's in. Rob gives a thumbs up. He's like, all right. No, and then as by the governance process is another sort of thing. So we've kind of established a proposal. We've got an initial sort of thing. Now let's try to get some parameters down. Like how long should we do it all together in something, and then the time. I kind of feel like quiet time, and I feel like a minute would be good.
I was thinking a minute too.
Yeah. Okay. So, I as weird as it is, I like cameras off, you know, like for whatever reason, it's just like, because it's a real coming in. And so we're going to leave the meeting kind of inquire within, as Rob likes to say, and we'll turn off our cameras. And then in a minute, we'll come back.
Okay. I have one point or one thing to drop in there, which is, and I think it's totally fine to do cameras off. I think we can try that. There's something I do like about leaving cameras on in situations like these, because I think that there's something where it's like if everybody turns their cameras off, then I feel like then I'm no longer kind of like part of the group, in a way. It's almost like there's power in being in my own sort of like self, but doing it like with the group, in keeping that, as if we were sort of like physically in a circle together or something like that. So that's just kind of my 2 cents.
Okay. Well, let's leave cameras on. Unless Justin, you've got a opinion one way or the other.
1 minute silent, camera on or off sounds good to me. I'll keep my camera on as well.
Cool. Let's do it. Here we go. Okay. And that's about a minute. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was good. That was good.
Thank you all. Yeah, very good. So yeah, so why don't we, yeah, very nice. Yeah, why don't we go around and bring in any like agenda items that we're all sort of of us are thinking about, anything we kind of like to bring in, and then we can see how to move from there and what feels like wants to move. So yeah, I can start. I think that my sort of big main agenda item today was really like about the going over the member portal, and also going over like starting to think about what is what is the plan for like for calling people back in, what from what's there now, right? Because like I was saying before, Newman, I did a lot of work this weekend on it, and it's getting a little more sort of at least ready for ready for people to come. And so really looking at that and saying, okay, what would be a person's experience, what would they what would they need, and then also really talking about like what I mean, one thing I've been thinking about is really workshopping like what is this and what is the value, and why are we're inviting people to come here. And I don't know, there's a little something where I'm like, okay, what I feel so clear on the value, but then there's a way where it's like, oh, okay, is this valuable? Is it, I don't know, is it gonna work? Is it, I don't, so I think that there's a little bit of that, connect that, I can, my stuff. And then and then the other thing is really like the fact that Justin is here, I think would be amazing to kind of go over these items. And really I'd love to hear what Justin has to say, because of the experience that he's had in facilitating and working with something of this manner. And I'm about halfway through the Samara Chronicles, and so that's been great, which is something and I know Newman loves documentation. It's a whole full piece of documentation that that they wrote up to from Samara to basically like say, hey, this is what we did, this is this was the process, these are the the lessons that we've learned. So it's been great to read that. Those are my kind of agenda items for today.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah, I'd love to find out more about Samara. One of the things that irks me or like gets under my skin is I guess I know that it has to happen. I've been feeling a lot lately the sort of like, oh, the past and the future kind of collision. What's the lyric of the song that keeps going through my head? It's like time moves forward and time moves back like a crazy engineer on an endless railroad track. So it's like, it, you know, we're just sort of repeating the pattern. And it's, I like this idea of seeing what others have done and really looking at their documentation. That's my general drive and why I'm interested in documentation, because I'm like, oh wow, it seems like I've learned this lesson. Another lyric from the song is I'll try anything once, and the thing how's it go? Basically paraphrasing, I'll try anything once, and the things I like I'll try twice. Uh, so yeah, like going through documentation would be great. I'd love to find out about the huddle, like these other, just other organizations. That would be really cool. And then, one thing that I wrote down from earlier is again, sort of documentation, and really looking through those FAQs and as we go through, like getting into the habit of documenting as we do, like if we come across an FAQ, like a question that would be beneficial to others, we could just answer it there. And we can, as we look through the portal, that might be kind of interesting,
Great.
And like, yeah. And I just had the idea of like, we could move our meeting notes into Notion. So we're like all of one, but it's not necessary, necessarily.
Great. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I think that's good stuff. And Justin, any particular kind of desires or agenda items you're coming in with today?
No, I think what I want to just frame myself as is someone who's kind of I'm interested and I care, and so I'm happy to like see you guys do your thing, and also to chime in, offer perspective, help to share links or content. I can ask or answer questions. I can help you guys think about things, but I don't have like a thing I'm here to accomplish just yet, as much as it's kind of just wanting to show up and seeing what things are like, and yeah, and supporting how I can, and on this call, maybe possibly in the future.
Great. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and I think that's the idea, is that people come in and participate at whatever level that they're at, and whatever level is in alignment with themselves. And so yeah, well, why don't we kind of maybe Justin, and also I don't, I mean, a lot of times the meetings, especially if they're, if there's more people, they'll go for a couple hours, but I don't know if you have, what your time frame looks like, Justin, and there's no, you can, feel free to jump off whenever, your timing and your schedule, works, whenever that works for you. So I think that, so while we have you here, I know that you just jumped into the member portal. Why don't I, share my screen and we can take a look at that, and then I just have, let me see, where would it be?
Yeah, that might be cool to kind of like, just sort of get initial reaction.
Yeah. So the last thing that I feel like I really need to do is, these are fine, but I just want to redo the instructions for finishing, like filling out your member profile, because so Justin earlier filled out, the member profile form. So, he has his, his profile here, and really that's like the main thing, that somebody would need to do. And of course, because it's Notion, it's a little manual. But you need to, like, Troy has to do that as well. He filled his out. So, you'd have to come in here and click on the new member template and, add your picture, and, it's not too complicated. So, and from there, really it's, it's the needs and offerings page. We have forms now, rather than, somebody who, doesn't really know Notion, to come in. It's just going to be easier. So you click here and you have a need or an offering, and it just, you choose your name, and then, fill it out, submit. You can fill that out multiple times. So I think that's going to make things, a lot more user friendly. And, I think that, this will help people to understand, just fairly quickly what we're doing. I filled out a lot, in the organizational info hub. I realized, there really is a lot that, that we have ideas about, but, it's mostly, right. It's mostly been centralized with me, it started as my baby, and, trying to move it out and decentralize it. But, that's going to be a little bit of a process. And I actually wrote a little, Newman, I don't know, I should probably move this into the main part, but I wrote a little bit yesterday about Notion and like why Notion. I think that's good because Notion is not like the perfect tool for this, but I think it's good enough to get it started. So my question, for you, Justin, is really like, I think that really what we're doing here, at this point is just creating like the platform, just creating a base platform and saying, like we think that this could be useful, for people, especially like, people who are experiencing financial insecurity, that's a group that I think could be, find this very valuable. Meaning like, okay, how do you, it's not always like an easy question. Okay, well then how do I resolve being out of financial insecurity? And, the ways that we're talking about that may not be for everybody, but I think that, big part of this, in addition to the social change is the like professional development. So, all right, so I want to stop. So Justin, I'd love to just kind of hear your take on what's here. And, part of it is like, and like from all the lessons that you've learned, what, is there anything you're seeing where you're like, oh, okay, like, like we had challenges with this, or, oh, I think that this might actually work, or suggestions, or yeah. So I'd love to just hear what you have to say, if you don't mind.
Yeah, like so I'll speak generally, and then if you want to actually take time to go into any particular tools or aspects of the portal and like dive into how that looks, how that works, and what I'm happy to kind of focus on like particular features or products we have here, and also talk about generally about the member portal and how I understand holistic systems cooperative operating. One thing that kind of came up as I was listening, like I think this is really great progress. So like congratulations, guys. And I think one thing that I think is interesting, or that you said in the last little bit that I wanted to kind of speak to, is kind of who is this for and how do you find them? And I thought about, I think having people that are that need resources or kind of financially insecure is really important to be able to find ways to support them and help them find work to meet their needs. But I think actually at some level, what you should really kind of look at to recruit are people that have work already and those that maybe are looking for something more. So people that have skills, they have a kind of a moving, thriving, or at least like growing freelance business and are looking for new ways to work that help them to be able to do more with what they already have, versus people that don't have a lot and are looking to find things that are going to help them survive. Because you definitely want to support that group of people, but they're going to have a lot of needs and a lot of kind of pain, a lot of issues that won't necessarily help you guys get off and running the way that you want to go. And obviously, if you have a social organization, you want people. This is very open, right? It's designed to be open. Anyone that has any set of skills can come in and find their way through this process, right? So it's not, you're not denying anyone, but as far as like who you want to recruit for, I think you want to recruit people who already have books of business, who are doing well enough and who want to find either new ways to work, community to work alongside, looking to have that kind of value exchange be very, very clear, because that's really what's going to make your community very rich and also increase your kind of access or opportunity to work and resources, and also a level of like professional maturity and capability as well. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you.
What and that's an interesting,
Totally.
because when you mentioned financial insecurity and the kind of for folks, that analogy of sort of waking up from the to the matrix. It's like, oh, I'm involved with a big system that I don't want to work in. So I go off on my own. And I just maybe tried, maybe kind of cliche, but it seems like it's kind of lonely, or you get overwhelmed. You try to start your own business, you fall for scams, you buy the super membership for $500, and then and it's there's all this sort of thing. So it's nice to have a community, and developing skills. So there's that. If it's financial insecurity is then the term that I kind of got into, and you can do something about the finances. It's like, oh well, here's reputation that you're building, or that you've got, like that community security. We fight financial insecurity with community security, meaning that I know now that I'm kind of got a group of friends, and they're all involved with this sort of stuff. But we can focus on the financial, or we can focus on the security, insecurity, and that has to do with like mindset and the sort of letting go kind of thing. Yeah, I do think finding the right, like getting, a good match for folks, like that the offering here, and it's kind of a unique thing that they already have the maturity enough to say, oh, I have these needs, and I have these skills, or I have these offers, and getting that mindset in. It's just like, oh yeah, I have a need for this. I have a need for a graphic designer or a UX guy on this next project. I have a need for a coaching circle. That level of maturity, I think, is either it has to be there, or we have to cultivate it, in order to make a gain.
Yeah.
What's coming up for me new as you say that, and it's not touching all that what you're saying, but it's a really small point, is I think actually maybe there's a language thing that you guys want to be aware of, which is, if I have a project and I want to hire someone or collaborate with another person, that's not really a need. Like the word need may be the wrong word to invoke what you want to have happen in that exchange of opportunities and offerings, right? That's very different than needs and offerings, because opportunity says I have a chance for someone else to come on my work. Need makes it has a kind of a sense of insecurity, or like it has a different thing to it. So actually saying need, I'm thinking like, oh, that's not really what. Yeah, I think it's a more empowered or more professional term that you can use. It doesn't necessarily create that same kind of scarcityness, but also is honest to what the value exchange is going to be, right? I have an opportunity, or I have an offering, and it has that O and O, which kind of, I always love when things have the same letters when they start.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I want it recorded. Justin, that's great. What do you, or Rob, what do you think? I think it's great.
Yeah. Well, I'm right. I mean, I definitely want to be, cultivating, an abundance, mindset rather than a scarcity mindset. It's an interesting point, because, right, if you're saying, to me, if you're saying, hey, I have a job, and I need, somebody to help, come in on that. To me, that is like an offering, and to me that feels like an offering and an opportunity, the same thing, so I guess like a need, like there's certain right, somebody's saying there's ways where somebody's saying like, hey, I need help with like, digital marketing, right? I have a service, I have something I can offer, I have a need, I need help with this, or I need, somebody to help support me in a certain way. I guess there's a way where I'm feeling like it's, or this is how I've been thinking about it. Like that's a need, and it's also right, like this kind of like acknowledgement that we do have needs, and that a lot of our needs just aren't being met. And so how can we meet those in community? I don't know. What do you think?
I kind of think that we have gone through this, because I was like, oh, I'll look up synonyms for need, and I'm like, my browser already has like the link in there. So we definitely have gone through this before. I do. It is interesting because words words are things, or words have power, uh, and we can sort of model that that culture of like, oh yeah, like these needs are really opportunities. Like I have a need for, like an accountability buddy. We could go, let's go to the portal
Yeah,
and look at
but
some of the needs.
Justin, what is right? Because I'm with you. Like I really hear what you're, kind of what you're saying. I'm having a little. I think that there's a way where I might be confused if I come in and I say opportunities and offerings. I don't know.
It's also not it's also it's a it can be a big deal or not a big deal. I think what I was just noticing was like
Yeah.
that when because I said financial instability, and we kind of got to a place of like the needs, like how the needs are different. Like so financial needs, like it says like so when I look at HSC so far, it's kind of going out, but I'll come back to the main point. But it's like it doesn't have the capacity as an organization that I know of yet to really be able to I come and I say, hey, I really need some work, guys. We're trying to get to a place where we have enough momentum and work and like financial flow to be able to say, hey, we got you, man. We get you, but that's not quite here yet, right? So you have this kind of initial growth process you're in. And so that's what I was kind of saying, to focus on people who already have work, who already have some sense of autonomy and financial flow, allows for you guys to kind of meet in a more partnership dynamic where they're looking for something, they're not looking for more creative work, they're looking to take on bigger projects, they want to have more social cause, but they're not necessarily looking for like their financial needs to be met by you guys, right? Which is not what you want right away. You don't want people coming to you necessarily and needing you to be their source of financial security, because that's a big burden to carry, and it can be really hard on you to have to take all that on. So I was kind of saying, you want people that have that base level of like wellness in their business or venture, maybe for the get-go. You want to find at least enough of those to subsidize those who don't have that yet, right?
Yeah.
And then I was talking about the need versus the offering, because it's like if I say digital marketing or sales. So Nyla has a digital marketing sales opportunity, and it just so happens that well, I won't do Nyla. Not Natalie has an illustration and poetry offering, and so maybe Nyla's opportunity can be linked with Natalie's offering in a way that begins to create work happening, right? But if I say like, it's just that's how, the opportunity is someone saying I have work that can be done. The offering saying I have these skills and I can do some work, and then you're meeting around those things in some kind of culturally right way. Does that make sense what I'm going?
It does. Actually, it just clicked in. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, it just clicked in. It really did, because 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 what we're saying is like, this is about value exchange. So it isn't it isn't like just transactional. But what we're saying is like we're going to be very deliberate about value exchange, and so we're saying, okay, I need help with, digital marketing, right? We're saying, well, this is an opportunity for you to, like use your skills and earn some value, right? And so earn, in this case now, right? It's a very like we're starting at place one. It's very simple, right? It's this it's just this like value exchange, this contribution log, and we're tracking things that way. But hopefully before too long, there actually is, a digital system, right? I mean, Haifa just launched beta, so who knows? Maybe that's something to be able to jump into soon enough. But I think in that sense, it's a way to say, oh, okay, well, I have this opportunity now, and and then I say, oh, well, I know digital marketing, so I'm going to come and help you out with that. That's an opportunity for me to then earn some value, right? Or earn some, right? If we're using the Haifa or DAO language, earn some co-op tokens, and that's then going to help me when somebody else has an opportunity. That's kind of, I think, what I'm.
Yeah. But yeah. but that's good. That's just good feedback.
Yeah.
Just I do yeah, like the wording and the sort of vibe of it, because um that's ultimately the sort of that's the beauty of the decentralized thing. I think what you said about like it becoming kind of a burden is like what we want to avoid, because even just the psychological burden, and I don't want to say anything for you, Rob, but I guess just for myself, like it was like, oh, I'm building something that you know, it's just like we need to build this because there's suffering people, and I need money, and I need a job, and I want, you know, want to do the right work. But I'm like, oh no, I'll let that sort of those first things, job and money, kind of like let that like not think about that for the moment, and then just work on just getting the right work, you know. You know, finding, and I think you had said it, made a little note of it that was really good, like do good work together in ways that work, you know, like like really finding, you know, the right fit and job, so that I can do good work, as opposed to, you know, just getting back in the matrix, you know, to keep using that analogy, just kind of, you know, doing other work. There's nothing really wrong with that, but if I have the chance to do meaningful work and participate in like meaningful, you know, not world changing, but, you know, changing my world, or really, you know, helping, you know, helpers, healers, and visionaries, like be in that space. Um, yeah, that would be, you know, ideal for me. Uh, and so building a framework that we don't just recreate this sort of work thing, that it does have this matching, and I think you got it right. It was just like, oh yeah, here's Nyla's opportunity, and um, Natalie's need, Natalie's offering. You know, uh, I mean, I don't know if we changed the word, but it is, we definitely want to mark that and say, oh yeah, that's a thing, so that it's not something that's like baked into the culture of the thing.
Yeah.
Because that sets us up for, you know, just the wrong mindset.
Yeah, it's really good to think about, you know, because then I think, right, and then it's also like, oh, okay, this is an opportunity, but then I don't, you know, like I could then be, you know, could turn, right, in my mind, could turn transactional, right? It's an opportunity. Oh, it's an opportunity then for me to earn tokens or to earn money, you know. Yeah, there's a lot in there.
Yeah, I do like the idea of though, and I think Rob, you made this point, about like recognizing, you know, our needs, you know, and getting needs met, and that vocabulary is out there, and I think, you know, that you know, there's some tension between those two, which is really good. Um, because I do want people to feel that vulnerability, to feel that like, oh yeah, there is a vacuum, or there is a hole, uh, and that like community and this group can address that, or that, you know, there are ways that I can with agency, work, to not broken and fixed. It's interesting to go down the language path, but yeah,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that we
I think, yeah, I think that's a really good point. I think it's really good to, yeah, to bring in. I think I want to, right, you know, like to, right, while Justin's here, to utilize kind of his experience, and
sure.
maybe I have, yeah, there's a couple more kind of questions I'd like to throw your way, Justin, when you're, I know you're jotting down our notes, so when you're ready.
This is my last bit on that thing, okay? It's not to make an image, but like I think
this
that
is
the
for
need,
us. Oh, okay. Yeah, please.
yeah, for sure, yeah. I think the need is the kind of like it's like the precursor to the opportunity
Can,
offering.
can you,
Oh,
yeah, thank you.
so it's like it's not like it's nothing in here, but it's like I was thinking about, so if I have a need, I'm going to put, so like um if you have a need and you're making an offering, it's because you need money, right? So it's just that the need is the precursor to both the offering and the opportunity, as an example, right? Both
Yeah,
things have something that is like beforehand that you're gonna want to like, that's encouraging you to come into the system. So Natalie's offering what she's offering because she has a need, which is like money or to do good work or whatever the different things are, right? And Nyla's offering her, naming her need or her opportunity because she has a need too. She needs someone to help offer their skills and stuff to be able to complete the job she has in front of her. So the need is so critical. It's a precursor to an offering and an opportunity. That's just my. I don't know if it's or not, but it just felt really kind of because figuring out what the needs are, the people who you're serving in the community is so critical. And then figuring out, making sure they go in the right direction as far as the tree goes, right? So you have this need, if you need money, you're not really going to go put out, you're not going to request, maybe you actually motivate you to, it may change the nature how you go through that flow process, right? As far as the user experience, what is your need? What are your needs? And is the right pathway for you to put forth an opportunity or for you to put forth an offering? And there may be some kind of patterns that are there. So that's just my last little thought on that, on our wordplay and our kind of little flows.
yeah. Beautiful, beautiful. I love that. Thank you. I think that's really great, and I think that helps resolve some of the tension. Um, I was that was coming in around it because there is this base idea, right, that like our like most people's basic needs aren't getting met, or that we have to, right. It's our sort of, it's our, we're all in this sort of battle for survival, right? So it does, I think, start with that need. That need is like is really like a prime energy there. And then the way that you broke it off from that, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you.
And listen, the fact that you had a pizza on the right hand side, and that you had a teeny whiteboard on the left hand side, like, this is incredible. This is absolutely incredible. Because that's exactly, I was in the store and I was like, do I need, is this an opportunity, this whiteboard? And I was like, yes, because I'm doing all this coding work. I'm doing CS50, like learning to program, and there's all this whiteboard work that I need to do. And I was like, I'm gonna get a little whiteboard. It's like, man, it's $15 or something. Something will come up. I always see the whiteboard and it's always like stuck and it's always like dried on there and stuff. I was like, seeing this, I am putting it, it's bumping up in priority for me. Give me a whiteboard.
Oh yeah. Yeah. The whiteboards. I have two like 3 foot by 4 foot whiteboards. They're not with me because I've been moving around, but they're like they're some of my prized possessions.
Along with your standing desk. That's right. That's right.
My sitting standing desk. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Justin, do you use it? I'm sorry to stay. Do you use that? Do you use that whiteboard? Because it seemed to be pretty natural. Like you keep it there. Is it a priority item for you?
Yeah. I'll write on it and then I'll take screenshots of it if during meetings and that kind of stuff, so I can have my little working notes. And I like it because it's smooth. It feels nice.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. That's like I know. There's digital whiteboards now, but there's something about the tangible creation, right?
Yeah, not the same. Okay, all right.
Love it. Yeah, thank you for that. It's really good. That's yeah. I'm just taking all that in, because these are like, these are fundamental pieces here. That all the logistics and sort of machinations stem off of. Yeah. All right, so I have so there's a couple of things, questions that are coming to mind. First of all is like, right, we're talking about like I'm just curious, Justin, like what are the problems that you're seeing, like if you have, you know, within this realm, within this sort of business, economic, you know, kind of professional, you know, development realm that we're kind of starting with, meeting basic needs, what are the problems that you're seeing, like, you know, just you as an individual, you're like, oh, okay, like I have these, you know, these are the sort of like quote problems, you know, business problems that an organization like this could solve. Like, what are the challenges? It's maybe a better word. What are the challenges that you're having? And then if you could share, like, from the work that you've done with others, with Samara, just with, you know, yeah, what are some of these kind of prime challenges that you're seeing, that people really are could use help being met?
Can you ask me that one more time? Sorry.
Oh, sure. I think from yourself and from other people, you know, who are kind of in the same, you know, realm, what are like some of the pain points that you have, you know, like what are, you know, some of the pain points and challenges, that, you know, that you could, that you would like, you know, to have solutions for?
Yeah. I'll give like a very specific example, and then I'll kind of try to like maybe speak more some way different. But when I think about something like, I was just actually going to pull up. I don't see it here in the way they used to have it. I haven't been on their site in like a month or two, so they've changed a lot of different things they were doing. But you guys are familiar with Gitcoin, right?
Yeah.
So they have the grants program, but they also used to have bounties. And that's really where they started a lot of their work, was actually helping software engineers or developers to be able to find work, and helping organizations find access to them. And doing so as like I think it was a pretty profitable way of working, because they had a very niche kind of Web3 regenerative public good aim, but doing so in a way that supported kind of techies and finding the work they need. What I noticed in something like Seeds is that you had like a really high attractor for people who had like design thinking, permaculture, community development. You had a lot of kind of knowledge workers who were really willing to give a lot of time, energy for sometimes for Seeds, but oftentimes just for free because of the mission and the cause. But had a really hard time being able to do so in a sustainable way that didn't lead to burnout, because Seeds wasn't able to provide for them. Haifa paid them pretty well for a long time, but Seeds did not, and could not, and still cannot. And so you have a lot of people who actually have a lot of mission orientation, have like really, you know, masters and PhDs. That's a measurement, but they have a lot of people who are educated, have a lot of knowledge and skill, and don't have a place to do good work that matters in this kind of Web3 arena. And that can be a really valuable place to cultivate from, as an example, right? So there's no knowledge worker portal that allows for people who have skills and experience and wisdom, who want to do good, to be able to offer that to projects and ventures that matter with ease. And that may not be what you want to build at all, but that's just an example of something that is possible as like a vertical to look at, or however you want to think about that, right? It's like one aspect of people that are there. I think another demographic or group of people, if that's cool, if I just share another one. Good.
Oh yeah, please.
Are people who have had skills in, let's say, it's not really a divide, right? But in a Web2 world, right? So they have these skills, right? So they worked in corporate, maybe they have even gotten to a place where they're freelancing, but they come into Web3 and don't know how to translate those skills, how to have like a right communication between the skills that were once, you know, in a corporate environment, and how to bring those into a fully remote digital ecosystem, right? Especially in Web3 ecosystems where, and I think this is like an age thing, but also it's just a skills translation issue. And so I think that's something that's here, right? So someone who, you know, I can kind of see that in the, like when you say facilitation, if you Google facilitation, as far as facilitation jobs on LinkedIn, what you'll find is that's actually not what you want to search for. Because when we're talking about facilitation, oftentimes in like a Web3 environment, we're talking about learning design, program management, project management. We're talking about facilitation most time in a much more wide way. But on LinkedIn, facilitation is oftentimes not that. That's not how people in a traditional business are thinking about the word facilitation. Think about you coming in with a very particular process, holding a very particular scope, and it's very confined. But a lot of times, it's actually a bunch of skills that have been nested into the word facilitation in a Web3 environment. And so that ability to translate and make sense of what you can do in a way that allows people to be able to actually name their value and be able to receive value, I think is a big opportunity and a great challenge.
Yes.
If I offer one more, if it's cool.
Yeah, please.
Keep going. You're batting 1,000 so far, so keep going.
Yeah. Newman and I, hear each other talk, plenty. So that's
that's true.
Yeah, and I think we kind of like you talk about it as a cultural thing, which we talk about the language and that kind of stuff, and this foundational. But I think the question of like why join a DAO or why work in cooperative communities, I think something about the ability of people to be able to work in a way that supports them in being well, that actually allows them to bring their whole self. So that regenerative organization language, right, is there, but actually most DAOs don't know how to do that very well. A lot of people are going through burnout, having a lot of kind of gamification, reputation issues in DAOs. They're not getting paid at all by working in DAOs. I mean, if you're not certain DAOs can make lots of money, but people aren't always beneficiaries of that money. Sometimes the DAO itself is, or kind of sharks in there are. And so a lot of people are kind of giving a lot of time as citizens, as community members, to build and establish the DAO itself because they care about the cause. But the thing itself is not actually giving them the money they need to be able to do that in a sustainable way. And so I think there's a real kind of chance to not only cultivate a right culture that doesn't repeat those same challenges, but actually becomes an attractor for people who are looking for something different, who know this way, but looking for something that's going to do it differently. That's why the cultural attractor. I don't know if that makes any sense or not, but it's like if you can actually help people do the work that they're doing at other DAOs and do so in a way that doesn't meet their financial needs and begins to do that, but creates a culture where their work is valued. I think it's just a really big deal. Holistic wellness of the individual contributor in this kind of remote, decentralized environment.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
And what if, thank you. That's great. I mean, this is really helpful. Especially for me to get differing, viewpoints and So I do think that there's a question, because we are talking about, and what I'm hearing a lot about, or there's this kind of a little bit of a theme there, which seems like a big theme, is like, how can we do this good work? How can we work for in DAOs or Web3 or in organizations and do with the skills that we have, and also be compensated in a way that's that is actually going to be sort of tangible enough to help pay the bills. And so I think that the question there is, because I think holistic systems as it's set up now, it's like, it's not an organization where people come and I think primarily to earn money, right? Like, I think we all want to contribute to the resource pool, and then we all want to be the beneficiaries of the resource pool. But at least now, I think it's set up to be helping people do that in more of an indirect way. So is that kind of meshing with do you think that that's that's a platform then that would work and that would actually serve the needs of those people?
My question would be why indirectly? Why is holistic systems choosing to do it that way?
Well, if it's directly, then that gets into the question of where of paying people, and then what are we paying people for, and then where is that money coming from? And so I think that right now I don't have answers to, to that.
I'll keep going.
It's
My point is this might go back into that little league t-ball and the majors. It's like, and which is something that Rob and I sort of discussed. Oh, actually, hold on just a second. So this is the note. You're not going to be able to see it. Zoom won't. But remember this, Rob, that we wrote this down.
I do.
The self-service mutual aid society, that was idea one.
Oh, yeah.
And then the t-ball on one end of the spectrum to majors on the other end of the spectrum, and then meaning that we acknowledge that we're in an evolutionary process, that we acknowledge that we're beginning and that we're working our way up, and we may not be t-ballers, we may be at Little League, and then we might be at the Pony League, and we may be at Little League World Series, and then etc. There's the iterative process of going, and I feel like that's where we are with the DAOs, and that's why Justin, your experience is super important, and what you said about that there are people making this transition from traditional work. Maybe they're a facilitator, maybe they get burned because I was hired as a facilitator and you want me to do all this extra stuff, and I'm totally overwhelmed and I'm not getting paid, and but the money's out there, but it's a bear market. Oh, it's just all this extra stuff. And then remember the mission, and then there's a lot of self like not there's a lot of a landscape of that's just different in this world, and we can go off the rails, and we need a lot of like mental health. One of the things that I really focus in on is mental health of this new way of work, because you will get their pitfalls and you will fall prey to sharks. You will join a community and get rugged. You will put in a ton of effort and a ton of thing, and yeah. So what you're saying is absolutely gold, absolutely gold. And the other thing that I wrote down on there between those is the below it, which is enjoy the ride, So it's like enjoy like moving through all of those things. And I guess all that is to say, we at this juncture to create, and this may not be but it's just something that's coming up for me. Because it was sort of painful, Rob, would you agree, that to make that shift to a more decentralized, smaller, felt like we were going backwards. We were like moving to T-ball, where we're like, oh no, let's just try to get some people together that are doing work out there and need some mutual aid, just so that there's a place, there's a website, there's a calendar, we can organize events like, like it can just be a place where you can communicate, things that are going on in your other communities or your other work, and that you build up reputation and trust, and you can use it as a, as a community. And in that we know that communities and networks provide security. That gets back to that, like, okay, there's financial insecurity, but we can maybe offload that into sort of community security. I think that soon we want to institute, and Justin, get a load of this. We want to institute the 2 Slurpees, the 2 smoothie a month, payment, like, so that we'll say, hey, if you can give up two smoothies a month, and that might be, $8, it might be $16, depending on your economy. And then we start in a T-ball fashion, start to do the governance and community work where we're managing not just our time resource, but also financial resource. So I feel like that's not here yet, but I think it's coming up.
Yeah, thank you. Then, so my, yeah, I think what kind of came up in that analogy was like, in the even with T-ball, which you just touched on this, think about what it takes to actually run a little league baseball league. It actually takes a lot of effort. People are getting paid for that. The coaches are probably, they may be volunteer, but they're also getting paid. There's also, you're paying the fees to join the little league, right? You had to pay the baseball parks. You got to pay, the concession stands are making money. Like, there's a lot of transaction happening that is financial. So I think in the movement toward not limiting the value flow to financial only is also really important to have a healthy relationship to financial value flow and actually do things that allow for you to, as like lead organizers or facilitators, however you want to think about that, in your role and responsibility to lead the way by naming your value and making sure that thing is kind of acknowledged upfront by the roles you're taking on and the work you're doing now. So what is that thing that you're holding? What are you calling that in your system, and how is that being valued as you guys are? I kind of see this. It's kind of already. I mean, I haven't gone through everything fully, right? It kind of already exists, but it feels important. It feels important to have that. And if you're wondering, well, what's the value? Is what we're building valuable to our community, right? And that's a great way to know. Are they using it? Are they feeling? Are they? Is the time there? Right? Are they willing to go through the different steps to be able to figure out what it is? But also, are they willing to put money on it? And one of the best things you can do to know if something's valuable is to put a price on it and then try to figure out how to actually people buy it. Because using or signups are so valuable, but also very shallow, right? And a lot of times you can and you have like low attrition over time with signups, or like for people to mature through your process, especially your process is not clear, it can be really disheartening, kind of hard to understand what the problem is, right? So if you guys can get really clear on like, if the membership portal is the value offer, one way to know if it's valuable is to kind of have something up. Not, I don't want like, I can't tell you how to do that strategically necessarily, but like it may just be important to do that, or to have a practice where you guys know that. Sorry, my last little metaphor would be like, who are you guys in that little league? Are you the little leaguers? Is that we're all the little team? Are you the organizers? Because there's different roles to that too. And so if you're trying to find little leaguers to get ready to go on to the big leagues one day, that's what you guys are trying to figure out how to coordinate, right? But if so there's a whole thing about I just think it's that felt important. And what I kind of see is you guys want to hold like you guys want to coordinate a league of some type, right? Some type, and this is different roles, different players, different learnings that have to happen there, right? Like we're saying, the kids in how to coach is a really important part of that. How to play the game of baseball is really important, that part of that, right? How to properly run a roster or have little league championships. There's different kinds of learning that are there. I don't know how that all works. I'm not like, I won't take it too much further, but I just want to say there's something about that that's worthwhile to look at it from that systemic approach, and then to design it with the different stakeholders, I guess, in mind. And I think a financial value flow being innately designed into what you do, because I think oftentimes that's where organizations struggle most, is that they don't, and myself included, like you don't, if you don't stand, it's like we don't want to put money off the table or keep it away from us or design it out in order to make room for other values. You want to see it as a really important value and almost a necessity in a really healthy way, so that it's able to come in, be a part of the exchange and the culture that we're developing off the get-go. If not, it kind of becomes something that's a little bit more challenging, I think, to integrate over time.
Yeah, that's very interesting, because that's a question. Yeah, like Newman talked about, this was conversations that we had, and kind of came to the decision, saying like, okay, at a certain point we do need to like charge people for this, and right. So then there's a couple, like there's one, and hopefully this flies, but the idea is really that like everybody has the opportunity to be like the little leaguers, and everybody has the opportunity to be the league organizers, meaning like we're paying ourselves. So if I might have to pay $15 a month, but if I'm doing some of the coordination work, then I'm receiving that back, because I think that's the idea, is that there's not some third party, that's doing that. So but yeah, but then the question has come in, and also thank you for that. I think that that's really helpful feedback. Yeah, and to know if it's valuable or not, um, the question is like when to do that, it was, and I think that we've been saying, okay, like for now, like, bring in the people who are like in this circle, in the inner circle, who've been, around here, say, okay, like, hey, let's get some people and sign them up. But then when do we start charging? And maybe, that's a consideration that I hadn't sort of gone that far to say, like, release like right away. I don't know. That's interesting.
This is going to be a video to watch again. Justin, you are dropping knowledge bombs on this. I really get the sense that you have been through this and that you're speaking from like a place of, it's kind of a silly term, but I've been using it a lot lately, but like embodied knowledge. Like, I don't feel like you read that in a book. I feel like you've lived through some of these. Like, I think that from what you said, I think that you've been in a community that had problems with like making the disbursements of money, and that you've lived through these things and you're giving us really, really valuable feedback. So for that, I just want to right off say kudos and thank you. Yeah.
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 Yeah, that's a really, it's an interesting question. That's also been, part of the question of, of like when to start trying to, experiment with tokenization, right? Because I think that's, some of the ideas to say, okay, like we need some, some actual resource, some fiat money, in the pool, but we don't want it to be all fiat money. We want it, right? And like I do think that, just like the Haifa DAO, like the format there. So when to start incorporating that is a good question. Yeah. Uh, can, can this might be? Can I ask another question, Justin? Or let's see, something else. Are you okay with the fact that a lot of this meeting is just turning into like, hey,
it's a big interview. It's a big interview. We're like,
lots about, all right.
But we don't have an extractive mindset. It's just, like, it's just, you're being very generous with your time and your experience. And so, yeah.
Yeah. And it's really valuable, right? And I can also see, I always appreciate, seeing where like things, where like they're just wonderful insights come in, and also where things kind of like push against, some of my, kind of notions, of how things should be and how to, operate things. I think that's always valuable. I like that. If you were to, so given, because I think that, I think at this point, in this kind of indirect way, I mean, I think that a lot of the value, at this point, is sort of, I would sum up as like professional networking and professional development. In addition to kind of like the community support, helping each other kind of level up, and then the direct, so. Right, talking that out, and then the direct, the sort of direct financial gain comes from, at least at this point, I would say direct financial gain comes from, doing, actually like being a facilitator, a coordinator, for holistic systems, and doing some of that work and getting paid for it. And then some of these indirect ways, which is, like, okay, I'm meeting these people, I'm seeing their skill sets, I'm working with them, I have jobs come in, I have referrals come in, I'm going to pass that on to these folks because I know who they are, right? They have that, you gain that reputation. And given that that's kind of the model, if you were to launch this, if all of a sudden we sort of switch places and I was going to lead the huddle, and you were going to, sort of help spearhead launching holistic systems, what would you see as like, some of the things that you think, oh, like this might be an issue, this might be a challenge, and then some of the things where you say, oh, okay, I like this, I think this, this works well. Yeah, if in that theoretical world, if we were to switch, or I would love to hear kind of your.
While you're thinking about it, Justin, I would love to see Rob do the huddle. I kind of now I'm like, oh, in this far out world, I'm like, okay, yeah, let's do the huddle.
Yeah, one of my the reason why the huddle exists, or well, I'll try to actually do the thing you asked. I'm gonna go sideways. I was gonna go sideways that route, but I'll do it just like what you asked. I think what was coming up to me was there's an organization called Visualize Value, and he's got like content you can pay for, but you can also watch his YouTube videos for free. And he's a British dude based in the US. And one thing he talks about is build once, sell twice. So when I think about all the effort and work you're putting into building this membership dashboard, I would think, that is a product that you can sell to any organization who wants to do what you guys are trying to do, which is probably many organizations. Have a talent resource pool and do so in a way that supports different people to exchange resources in a meaningful way to be able to create more networked effect. Right. So almost any DAO, any ecosystem, any network is going to want something like this at some level if you design it really well. So if you think about the product you're actually building, not being the community, although it is that, is actually the membership portal. That's the thing that you can sell a notion on. So you can build a great notion one time and then go sell it a bunch of times. And now you have a pool of finance and revenue that's coming in a very right way that you can use to do really good work and support really good people and help to expand your ideas more and more and more. So I think thinking about what your product is and really kind of going through that product design sprint in a way that builds community. And so if you take this as a design sprint and you're inviting different people in South, you invite different people to come in and give their perspective, but really taking them through a facilitated process to help make sure the portal is valuable and it has the right features and has the right whatever it may be, right? And you come out with this product in a way that you're going to put to market. Like that's great. And if everyone who comes in and supports you as a stakeholder in that design sprint, say it's a 3-day workshop or it's a multi-week, whatever it may be, if they're all actually receiving some type of one of your tokens, even a small one, right? If you're accounting for their contributions and you're offering them some form of return for that time and energy investment, well, you're already living your whole culture. So you're building out a product, your membership portal. You're building up a community of people, maybe 7 people who are coming along with you on this 3-day or multi-week sprint. And you're actually starting to develop your culture by actually practicing what you're preaching and what you're doing with this kind of product development. And that's one way to approach what you have going on here, which I think builds value at multiple different levels for the organization.
And what he means by is holy fucking shit. Oh my God, what in the hell? I mean, just that idea of accounting for the contribution. I have to go back to the videotape, but like actualizing the culture or there's that like so much of like instruction and facilitation. It's just like, okay, we're going to facilitate it this way, but you do it this way. It's sort of like do as I say, not as I do. But having that like whole like fractal, I think to me that is what this Web3 edge of innovation is looking for. I think that all of the technological innovation that's come before is just like, well, we'll figure that out later, or don't worry about that. We're working in this little specialized niche, and just as long as you keep your blinders on, everything will be fine. But this, we're like, no, the whole thing has to come on. I want to be whole as I come here and present myself. I want to act from a whole place. I want to have like a wide perspective. And if not at the widest level, but at just more levels. Like I want to bring a whole culture with me. Yeah, that to me is the exciting zone. Yeah, and then you sort of pitched like the whole thing. I could see it in my mind. That's just amazing. That's just amazing. Yeah. to account for people's contribution while we build something. And honestly, I think I'm involved in a couple of projects. It's not just here in the HSC, but these other projects that I'm involved in are kind of, they need to hear that. Because with that mindset, then other things kind of click into place, you know? Like the whole tokenomics makes a real sense then. Because it's like, yeah, you have this contributor token. You contributed to this thing. Yeah, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I know Newman, you made me laugh. He's like, yeah, I mean,
yeah. That's just I'm just translating Rob's
it's good. Yeah,
speech. Like,
yeah.
he's bubbling up inside. I'm going to express it. Rob is like, let me see about this.
Right, these new ideas. No, that's thank you. Yeah, that's a great idea, and it's really I hear you on that. It's just, and you know what came in, from everything that we're talking about here, and Justin, that you're putting in, is like, it's interesting. It's almost like there's a way where we know we know exactly what this is, but then also don't know at all like what it is. It's like what the culture, like, okay, the culture, it's like, oh, okay, that is sort of seems clear and has been clear, from the beginning. And what but then it's like how that plays out, like, okay, what is the product, what is the exact value, that's still something where I'm like, well, I have some ideas, but I'm not totally sure yet. It's fascinating, and I think that's part of the process, and Justin, what you're helping a lot with here, is saying, okay, what is right? Because that's something that I've learned along the way, is in entrepreneurship, is it isn't about like, my idea, and then like having to force that on the world. It's like, what do people actually like needing, and then how does that, work with what I can provide.
Yeah. There's that I mean, that's you just described, Rob, like the beautiful interplay between, the known and the unknown, and then how to operate, like holding both of those things. And it's a real I think it's a real skill, and I think it's really needed because there's a couple of strategies, like to get around that, and they've really been tried. For instance, you just factor out the unknowns, or you externalize or internalize. There's all these different strategies. So if we can, as a wide community, as just HSC, kind of figure out how to operate and make it a part of our culture of like, oh yeah, well, these are the things that we know, and it's clear, and we're going to operate with that in our mind, and then kind of not limit, like the money thing, like don't design it out, but sort of hold it in that gentle way that this type of community can do. That's not permissive, or it's just like, oh well, we're not gonna. It's just not hiding from the tough stuff. So yeah, I think that yeah, there's value in that. And being ready for anything. I think that once I sort of started on the path, I was just like, yeah, I'm ready for whatever comes next, the not limiting thing and being able to pivot, like having a firmness, but then also being able to let go of things. I always recognize that in people that I want to work with, people that will fight you, or have their idea, and then they're like, oh no, yeah, that's a better idea. Okay. You know what I mean? Like they're willing to pivot. And actually, because when we started, there was this bigger idea, but it was the majors, and we're like, oh no, what we really want to start is here because we don't want to limit ourselves. Like the majors is limiting like that. I think if Natalie was here, she would say that. She would say like, those things, like we could build out the majors, but it wouldn't fit, the time. I think if we do this on this sort of generation ship of Earth, that we will always be in connection and be appropriate and fit to the wider culture that's around, as opposed to like shutting down and making the thing and then being like, oh, it's everybody's moved on. Oh, okay, fuck, we've got the best tool there ever was for 20 years ago. And no one wants that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think so, right? And I think that was where, right, what we just naturally saw, right? It was like, okay, we tried to sort of bring in the majors right away, and it's not, the culture didn't break down, but we saw the places where it could, and where it was could go there, and then it's like, oh, okay, well then let's pull back. Yeah, but it really is, it is a fascinating, question that's, which is like, okay, we have this thing, and what is the value, what is the value that people, are needing, and what, is the group of people that need that, and how can this thing kind of provide for it?
Hey, I wanted to bring up, I did that Gitcoin. There's a couple of things I wanted to ask about. One about the huddle, and then the bounty, the Gitcoin bounties. So I had another thing in my history. So if there is a subdomain Gitcoin, there was bounties.gitcoin.co. So, and if I go to that now, it takes me to a different website called like Builder something.
Yes, they did a whole overhaul. I've been in a few of the grant rounds, but I didn't know that they had done such an overhaul to their organization. So I don't know if I couldn't find. I think the way they're doing it now is very different. Where they're doing citizen rounds instead of doing bounties now.
Yeah. That's interesting because those organizations, I mean, keep using this analogy. I'm in New York City. All of our teams are out of the baseball playoffs. So, like those you can consider like fully mature products, and they are pivoting. And if we can kind of watch those, like we watch the news, and we're like, oh, they had an issue with governance, or why did these design changes? And governance to me is just design. It's just community design. It's like, who makes these decisions? Who documents them? How did it get this way? Where is it going? Like those are governance and or design decisions. And so those companies are making those decisions, and it's kind of cool to watch as like a case study. Is it's like, oh, they ran into this problem, so they did this, or they saw that opportunity, and so they did this, or they changed this. Like, what were the changes? And if we can get a relationship to that, it might really be beneficial to us. Yeah.
But and I don't know what happened with Gitcoin, so I can't say exactly. But I think maybe I think because they finally became a place. At first, their products were like a learning system called Kernel. Well, I won't go there now, but I think the bounties worked until they decided they want to take on more initiatives or project based. Now their grants are really how they're going about distributing funds. Whereas, I think bounties kind of have in a way, the bounty, even that word bounty doesn't quite land in Web3 at some level, where it kind of feels kind of old worldy. But I just dropped D. I mean, D work was kind of an example of what I was describing too. Not ideally what you guys want to do, but I think as a kind of showing you how this is Web3. It has project management, token payouts, credentialing, and bounties, and it has both kind of a a need side and a offering side, right, for contributors and project leaders. And you can go, I mean, to me, there's like, it has some traction, it does okay. It still has kind of a hit or missness, I think, to the amount of people who are actually using it for work. So it's still not
Right.
quite doing exactly what you want to see. But it's also helpful to see what DAOs are on there and in what ways. And this kind of stuff, right? So these are kind of examples of other models you can look at. Again, I think what I noticed with you guys, which I think is really important, like the way you're saying is, like the way that you do these things really matters at some level. So both what you build and who you build it for, but the way that you do it. And I agree with that. The spirit of Natalie, she's not here speaking, but that you wanna like, you guys are trying. It's not accurate, but like, you're not just trying to have a team in the major leagues, right? You're trying to create a league of in some way of your own. But also that means you're trying to also invent a sport. And no matter if you're playing major league, minor league, or T-ball, at some level, there's something fundamental about the nature of baseball that you're going to see fluent across all aspects of that spectrum. And so where you guys are at some level, even by going from stage 2, going back to stage 1 and building again, you're really deciding the fundamentals of the game that you're playing. And so that thing is really important. What are the rules? How does it work? How do people relate? How do they participate? And you're really trying to have this base thing here that's going to be able to holonically or scale up and out and be okay at different spectrums of society or different spectrums of skill set. That's kind of a potential possibility how to really view that. And so I think that's, like I said, the contribution, contribution accounting as inherent in valuing work, that's, and naming what that work looks like and making sure that's accounted for, right? How you build with people. Is everything that you're building and everything that you're doing going to be seen as valuable, right? So, some organizations, they put, I'm not saying you should do this, but they put all of their calls on YouTube, right? Because some people are looking for DAO, whatever work streams, right? And people are going out and watching that. And so maybe it's not a profit driving, it could be marketing really good, it could be profitable at some level, but they're monetizing even just their Zoom calls at some level, or at least productizing that as a way to be able to continuously capture more and more value. Like you mentioned, your meeting notes, maybe no one cares to read them, but if they're always in your Google Drive, then no one's ever going to get a chance to read them, right? But if you have them as a part of this blog, this ongoing story or narrative you're telling, and you take time to cultivate it, right? All that's kind of creating this value. And I think that cultivation of value is kind of what I was noticing is possible here, especially because you're looking at so many different types of, I guess, value streams, like so many different types of ways that people can contribute based on the kind of skills and abilities that they have. I think the capturing of that's kind of that visualized value thing I was pointing to too, where he just says, like, anything that you're building, you build it to be a standalone product. So your membership portal is a product. And because you're working with, it's like the first person who made a yoga studio software, right? They built a membership software for yoga studios, and then they go out and they sell it to all these yoga studios, and they're, their mind, body, whatever it is. Now they become, you don't necessarily want to be that, but they're probably doing pretty well, I imagine. Like they probably did. And if that's not if you're not locked into that product, right? Because you have this centralized distributed process, or you're looking at how do you have products be standalone, then you're not responsible to like always be stuck in as a software company, right? But you can create things, create products, create values, and have them be able to, yeah.
I think the key, one of the keys that's coming in around that. Yeah, thank you, Justin. Yeah, really great input and feedback. And for me, what's coming up there, is I think, it feels to me like one of the keys for like this product that's being created, is that it does need to like run in a like a decentralized way. you know, or at least, you know, now that's right, because there is a way that seems to be what is necessary now, right? If somebody comes in, you know, tomorrow and says, you know what, Rob, I love what you're doing. I'm going to, you know, put a bunch of, you know, money into it and fund it, you know, and then Rob, you can just like earn a salary and work on this, you know, then we don't need, you know, like we don't need, you know, then decentralized coordinators. You know, it's like, okay, I can just do that and then people can, you know, sort of like reap the value from it. But there's a way where, I don't know, that doesn't seem like I don't know, that doesn't seem like at least for now, the sort of product that's being created, you know, and so then that's its own dynamic, you know, which is like, hey, you know, like people come in, we're all going to put value into it, and then we're all going to be recipients of it, and so we're going to be the coordinators, and we're going to be the recipients, you know, of the product. You know, I don't know if that's going to fly, but that's the model as it stands.
If you guys were gonna like work with the ideal client, like who would that? I guess in this first level, your ideal client is are individual people, right? But also there's an agency side to your business, right? Where you're also looking to secure work. You know, like you guys are like if holistic systems, people can come to you guys and say, hey, we have this project. Do you have the talent and team to be able to take it on? That's also an ideal outcome, right? Yeah. So who would be like, who would you want to, what would be an ideal organization that you would want to work with right now?
Yeah. Yeah, right. Our client partners. I mean, in that respect, I think, you know, the ideal client, you know, there's a couple of you know, specifics that come right to mind. You know, ideal client number one is a client that is making some kind of, you know, whatever they're doing it in a way where they're making some kind of positive impact in the world, right? There's some kind of impact organization, ideally, or they're doing something where that's meaningful. They're doing something that is, you know, in alignment with the values, or at the very least not out of alignment with the values of you know, these skilled professionals who are doing the work. That's number one. And number two is that they can pay, you know, they can pay like reasonable you know, rates, you know, getting you know, fairly close to at least like retail rates for, you know, what skilled professionals actually need. And yeah, I think those are ideal, you know, clients for the kind of client partners for people we'd want to bring in.
But then what about our general membership? You know, like just people that, you know, find the member portal and fill out the profile. Like what's sort of an ideal profile member?
Yeah, because those are different ideal, you know, those are different profiles, you know, they're different clients, they're different customers. Yeah, I mean, in that case, I mean, I think it's, you know, it's people who want to, you know, I think that there's a few things that come to mind there. You know, number one, it's I think, you know, people who are wanting to work more in you know, in that sort of like freelance independent contractor kind of way, or like in an, you know, have an entrepreneurial venture. I think it's probably going to be less valuable at this stage for people who are just like, hey, I just want to go and get a job. And then, you know, secondly, I think it's people who really want to, you know, who might feel isolated in that, who might feel siloed off, who might feel, you know, like under-resourced in that. And I think that it's, you know, I think Justin's point about, you know, like putting in that kind of ideal profile is the, you know, our people who are coming in now who do have skills, who could be considered in some respects a skilled professional. You know, and people who really want to do meaningful work in the world, and I think people who really want to change the game, right? You know, as Justin said, I think that's the big picture idea here. You know, it is a big picture idea, like that they're like literally our economic system right now literally is a game, and it's a game that needs to change. The rules need to change. So I don't know. That's what's
because it's based on ripping up the field, and it's just like, we can't keep playing this game or we'll have no field. Is anybody worried about that? No, keep playing the game. I'm about to win. You're like, okay. Yeah, totally. Yeah, skilled professionals, people who want to change the game, not just baseball, but like have the big picture idea. Um, you know, people who are having these experiences and need to like community. For me, like one, because what it's sort of how this is like just in the way like this has developed for me is that I go to these 2 or 3 other, so I'm in these bigger communities. I don't necessarily feel comfortable like fully participating, you know, like they're just these guys, they've got all the gear. They're like, I'm the majors. And I'm just like, dude, I just want to hit the ball. I love hitting the ball and I love running under the ball and catching it. That's one of my favorite things to do. I love sliding. I like want to run and I want to slide, you know, like that's what I want to do. Can I be paid for that? Is that, oh, that's not what is necessary. Okay. But I'm there and participating in whatever way. And I get ideas and it's like, I I want to ground them and like express them and sort of be in community. And that group but there's heightened tension there. Like, you can say the wrong thing there, like, and people will be really upset, you know. Uh, people are getting upset, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, all that is to say is that this feels like the right spot for me to grow and develop. Uh, and I want to create a spot based on all this other experience. I want to create a spot for the next Newman to come. Like next spring, there'll be a new Newman, and he will like be here. She will be here, and I want to leave the breadcrumb, or scrape out the path, such that they can move through this with a little more ease without just carrying there. I know that they've got to go through the process, but like there's something in the ideal member. I think Maggie was an ideal member. She's a student, she is a student. Hey Maggie, if you're listening, uh, uh, she's a student and she's working in a university. She's wants to find meaning. She wants to work on meaningful projects. She has a vision. She has this like idea that things can be better. And she's, just like you said, that she wants to sort of change the game and she has valuable skills. That's why she's going to school. And she took the opportunity to work on a project. And I want to like make that like a good cycle, not to short circuit, but to sort of facilitate and factor out all the crap that you have to go to get involved with the right thing. So to use that analogy, maybe Maggie loves to bat. She loves hitting the ball, and it's like, but you also have to like tie your cleats. You've got to get, you got to like put the tar on the bat, and like so you have to do all this extra stuff that's not swinging the bat, And so if we can offload that, she can learn that later. But if we can kind of get her to doing the thing that she loves and generatively like build out the rest of her, wholeness. Yeah. I love working. I love working in analogies. I hope it's not silly.
No,
But I also do like this. I do like the feeling of us all like on a like because I have a fully lived experience of like my best friends from the neighborhood playing baseball and like Maggie there and Justin and Rob and Natalie and you know all the gang that are here like are I I have like a sense of all of us on a baseball field or on some playing field like working through our practice, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, yeah. Works for me. And I know analogies, right? Like that's yeah, they're helpful for me. And I don't know, that's not like my go-to thing. So I know I tend to work well with people who sort of are good at that, you know, because it's like yeah, it just helps, you know, click another level, you know, of you know, understanding into place. Yeah, it's really helpful. I mean, these are really, you know, great questions, you know, that we're talking about, you know, and especially now. And it's yeah, yeah, it's right. It's a lot, right? And it feels like a little, you know, like it's a little bit of a like a vulnerable place, you know, for me, which you know, is totally fair. You know, because
Let's
this
put before we get too far off, let's use the member portal and put down our contribution because I know we're getting into the 2 hour zone and my
oh
brain
yeah,
gets a
we're
little
getting we're getting there. Right. Yeah, well, see, I think this is, you know, this like this is the idea, you know, which is just share my screen. Yeah, which is like, okay, well, we all, you know, like we all came to the meeting, right? So that's helping the community. Um, you know, Justin is providing
yeah
a separate, you know, a level of value, which
yes
is, you know, in a sense, Justin's coming in as a, you know, as a sort of an expert in the field, right? Who can speak to this kind of thing in a way, you know, that, you know, from a particular level of expertise. You know, so there's, you know, there's extra value there. Yeah. I don't know how long, you know, I'm just asking a lot of questions myself, you know, today, which is like, I wonder how long like this flies just using, you know, just using this like spreadsheet and like when essentially do we need to, you know, like when is it going to be required to like transition to actually, you know, using a tool like Haifa or use, you know, and getting into the tokenization and the right because we need to keep track of. That's another question I'm asking. Yeah.
yeah
Um, okay, so before I know we're closing in on time, so I want to acknowledge that. Justin, anything you know, as far as like how the again, this is beginning version of this member portal. You know, as you came in today, any like major frictions that you're noticing or
Yeah, I
things that are
think
standing?
I just just having not read it all, I guess. I just went to when I liked what Newman was saying around like we should practice what we're doing now, having a ritual like at the end of this call, going ahead and writing down your contribution. But I found that I didn't really know what to
yeah
what to call it, and also maybe like what if it was correct for me to do it or not. So obviously I'm a member and there's like, you know, but I was like, well, I'm a new person or I was just on this call for the first time. So maybe I'm not the person to, so it's not, I don't think it's true. I don't really care that. I mean, I could just put it on there. I kind of started to, and then I pulled myself back. And so that's an interesting thing just to notice that, you know, even if I show up to the call, maybe it's important to have some type of initial pattern creation for the person to get used to feeling comfortable naming the value of their work or find, you know, putting themselves onto the contribution log. And I imagine people will be the opposite, where they really will be very flippant about it. And then, you know, you can deal with that when the time comes, right? How do you want to deal with that as a culture? But you know, just, you know, I think I just noticed that myself. I started to fill it out and I was like, well, are they saying that this call was valuable? Is it cool if I put my name down here? What do I do now? So yeah, so I just wanted to say that was an interesting experience I was just having. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great. That's very good. That's very good. And there's a part of it, I think there's a part of like, sort of, as we add these, of that kind of like group and individual introspection, which is okay, well, what is the value here? How much is that worth? At a certain point, more and more, more things might get more specifically, codified its value. It might just be like, okay, well, you attend a community meeting and that's worth, you know, whatever, 5 co-op tokens, and in a way, but there's an aspect of playing around with it that I like. So I think Justin, what you're talking about. I mean, what I like. So there's a couple things, is like, using like some of the time at the meeting to kind of essentially onboard is what you're talking about. Folks, and kind of establish that culture, and it actually might be really fun. I think that's what I'm speaking to, which to me feels really fun, is to within a group, not just say, hey, everybody go and log your, what you put in, but as a group, sort of like bounce things back and, or, around and say, well, what is the value of attending this meeting? Like, okay, well, Justin's coming in with some specific expertise, like, what is that? What would we charge like somebody for that? What is our value, right? Because some people are going to like come in and be like, oh, it's not any value, $2 or something, right? And it's like, hey, that probably needs to go up. And then some people are going to come in and be like, oh, that's like I'm this is a $200 an hour skill, and that's that right. It's like, well, maybe, but can you get that? Like, will somebody pay you that? Anyways, I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent, but so I do think that Newman and I were actually doing this for a little while, and I think it's something that seems like really valuable to bring in, but to just bring back in like onboarding, like onboarding meetings. So like if you joined, Justin, would you find do you think you would find value from like having a 20-minute like Zoom call, onboarding, and then kind of like going over everything? Is that something?
Definitely. And I also think like I thought about just your organizational ritual. So if if this community call, at the end of every community call, there's a space and time at the end for people to be able to add their contributions, right? Then that becomes like a part of like a ritual. And that ritual helps it to be instilled, and then you know that it's going to get done. So even if I'm new to the organization and I come to the call for the first time, I've been on it for 2 hours, and you help me, I get my thing logged, and now I feel like I have a stake in the game here. And so I went, and so I'll just my last bit. I put my name down here, so you see my name. I put down I attended. I wrote it down as community support. I don't know if that was correct or not, but I was just trying. I saw that you had valued yourself at $25 in the past, Rob, for the community meeting, or for this one, or for May Newman, I guess, at $25 an hour. So I just matched that same one. So I guess the line item row 2 is Newman saying 25. So I matched that same amount, and that's how I put it for 2 hours. And that was my logic in filling out the log. So,
Awesome. Thank you for being a go-getter about that. And here's what I'm going to do is I'm going to confirm, Austin was definitely here. I'm going to confirm, right? And and then right, we have a recipient public comment if we want. Oh wait, so here, and then I'm going to show. See, yeah, this is a little onboarding, right? I want to confirm with a comment because nobody else can actually do that but me. But I can add, obviously other people to this, to the public one. All right, but I verified, I clicked that. And if I have any notes, and then that's attached to the log. So now we know that.
It says the date it's a date. It's the 10
oh, you're
dates.
right. Yeah. That was me. That's my bad.
Okay.
Oh yeah, right. You were matching before. So yeah, thank you. Right, I'm gonna put mine in. I really like that as far as, you know, the organizational aspect. Justin, I'm putting in this kind of quick start guide. Again, you know, hopefully you can. I'm revising this, but you know, really in the member directory, you know, it's, you know, you can add a picture in this way, and you know, these instructions will be here until I put the new ones in. So why don't we just kind of wrap up here? You know, just honor the time.
Sure.
Yeah. Anything. So yeah, why don't we just kind of wrap up? Justin, it's a pleasure to have you at the meeting, and you know, and thank you for joining in. You know, and being a beta tester. And you know, within the community aspect, right? Like there's things that are gonna, you know, that come in, and if you, yeah, I would, if you feel inspired, I'd love for you to add in, you know, any offerings or opportunities, you know, that you have. We want to definitely get the pool going. So thank you both. Yeah, and just trying to continue to surrender to the process.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd love for either of you to kind of just check out really quick.
I'm just writing down like this video would, I think I would like to rewatch this video. There are a lot of really good DAO contribution insights in this. Yeah, really generative conversation, and yeah, wonderful. I love it when the time flies. That's just like, that's a sign for me. It's just like, oh crap, we're here and 2 hours goes by. Definitely mind blown a couple of times. So yeah, really wonderful. So please stay in touch, Justin. Drop by anytime, and let us know if you're on any of the socials or if you post regularly.
Cool. Yeah, it was a really fun time, guys. I have a trust in yeah, I have a trust in the culture you guys are developing. I think sometimes I don't know how it feels for you guys, but like the amount of what you've accomplished to build so far is really meaningful. I really want to highlight that. It's not only has like the possibility for collecting value, but it is valuable, and it's great that you've already built it. And I think, you know, these experiences of like playing and learning, and you know, the kind of idea of it not being being real, but not being so serious, where it's okay to make mistakes. We're here to learn. We're not trying to, you know, it's not a lot at stake. There could be, but but we don't have to have it that way. And so there's time to support new people. There's time to show you how things work. There's time, you know, to have discussions. That ease, I think, is really a valuable thing. It's something that you want to keep cultivating. So I want to say, like, you know, I think it was a very generative conversation, and I think that's a very unique field. So I definitely want to come back and hang out some more, and see what's going on. It's cool.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. And I want to, you know, value your time, but if you want you know, anytime you want an onboarding, you know, session for the, you know, logistics of the portal, let me know. We can set that up. And I think, you know, probably got a good amount of that here. Yeah, thank you. It was really a pleasure to have you here, and thanks for that feedback. And yeah, just to be, you know, appreciate that, just to, you know, kind of be in this process and be in this kind of process together. Yeah, is really, you know, it's meaningful, right? Because we can't control the outcomes, you know, always in the world or ever, but you know, we have a lot of agency in what we do in the here and now.
True.
Cool.
Thank you so much. See you later.
All right. We'll be in touch.
Good,
And
Newman,
do you want to hang? Oh yeah, right. Do you want to hang and just get real quick, talk about like our to-do items?
Sure. I'm making a drawing. There is something to be said about the spiral. I just got like a real spirally vision.
Yeah, yeah. There's lots to think about there. It's really good. Yeah, so I know I should jump soon. And right, well, we're talking about the FAQ stuff. I mean, I think yeah, I mean, I think I'm going here. I'm just going to share my screen.
Yeah.
Look, yeah, I can just share really quick. I mean, I sent you some messages in Notion. Basically, I moved our so I truncated our to-do list. I just want to clean this up, for people who are coming in, but I think that these are the main things that we're working on.
Yep, I see that.
And so, yeah, I definitely, I'm leaving kind of the Discord and the main. I mean, we can, talk about like how we want to set that up and the structure, but if you're still good with that, I'm leaving that like as your.
That's kind of one of the things that I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
But I feel I should probably do that in Discord. It's like, hey, we're going to be moving some things around in Discord. I do know that you can archive stuff, so you can just throw things down in an archive, folder of stuff. Yeah, but yeah, I'm curious about how to do that, and it really could be just sort of mapping over like contributions and FAQs and that type of stuff. Yeah, I can definitely I have a vision on that.
Yeah.
But am I a I think it looks like I might be. Oh yeah. I'm a mod here. I can create a channel.
Yeah, you should. I think you should have full privileges. So let me.
Oh my God, I almost deleted a channel. Oh my God.
Server settings, roles. No, who are?
Yeah, it looks like we got two admins there.
Oh
It's
yeah,
us. It's probably us.
yeah.
Nice.
So you should be good to go there. And
Hell yeah.
yeah. So that would be great. And I really like how these forms. I don't know if you saw that. I mean, right now it's just here, but like the form when somebody submits a new need or offering or opportunity that the form automatically.
It's already done. It just did it. It did it today, just right now. Value exchange contribution. Oh, good
yeah,
morning.
yeah. So that's why I think we need, right. So that's something for this. So we can each form can be directed to a specific channel. Right. So there can be, the value exchange like however we want to set it up. The value exchange log, what can have its own channel. The needs and offerings can have its own channel. The collaboration categories can have their channel. But yeah, so that's just something for you to know. We're talking about the structures that these things can be. There's also one when new people fill out submissions. Right now, it's going to just our moderator channel, but
okay.
Yeah. So, and then another thing, the on the minimum viable community, maybe just to keep things, clean. Do you want to put this like somewhere else? I don't know if you're ready for it to be like to be a knowledge-based article, but
let's move that. Yeah, I can move that. And yeah, I probably have it somewhere. But thanks for not deleting it right off.
No, I wouldn't delete it. It's awesome. I mean, I think that's the perfect kind of thing to get added to the knowledge base.
I like what Justin was saying. It's like this could be like one of those. I mean, I don't have to sort of toot my own horn or anything, but I think that people looking for, like even if it's just $5, it's like, oh yeah, you can get a community template for, hundreds of dollars to get 1,000, or you can just like, here, it's super easy. And I've been thinking in this framework for a minute. So I'm going to copy it now. I think I've already got a copy, but I'm going to copy it now and see what happens when I paste it into Obsidian here.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, that's like it's a perfect example of, right, you could sell that, out into the general public, which of course like these things aren't mutually exclusive, right? That's something you could sell out to the general public, or offer there in some way. But that's also like a piece of value, right? That when somebody comes here and they pay their 2 smoothies, right, then they're like, oh, okay, now I like, there's this, this template that, somebody's come up with, like this whole, like this amalgamation of these ideas in a really useful way. And that's part of what I get by being here.
Yeah. Okay, so I've got that copied. Let me see if I can delete it. Oh, okay, now I think I can just delete them. Yeah, okay. Yeah, Discord is the big thing. And then I kind of think a glossary will look and see.
Yeah, it'd be great.
And I've been doing this about like kind of just seeing, just dropping some things and moving things around in the in that sort of the organization, the info hub, which is basically all like, it's all kind of question and answer. But like, yeah, I added some new ones in there. Like, is there a documentation of the governance actions?
Yeah, I went through it this weekend. I added a bunch of stuff,
Yeah, it looks awesome. Yeah, it looks really, really good.
Yeah, there's still, a lot of questions. If you ever do need to access, right, because this is the member portal. This is what's in progress here. I actually put our full to-do list.
Oh, of course. Yeah, all right.
Here, just to, because there's still some other items, on there. So it's just in that,
In the member, wait a minute, where is that? Oh, it's in the quests. Okay.
Yeah, it's in the quests. But other than that, I mean, I think that's, I think, if that's, I think if you're, you're on these 2 things, I'm doing well on the rest of it. Yeah. I decided to for now to ditch make. I just bought the, it's like 20, it's 20 something a month, for this thing called note forms.
Oh, right. An integrated Notion project. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it integrates. It's just like the forms. It's so easy. Everything works. With Make, there were a lot of challenges that were coming up, and it wasn't worth it. So,
okay, let's put that into the contribution. Definitely.
Yeah.
That's like you can put the zoom down in any other of the expenses, even if they're being, volunteered, or because we kind of want to know those things, because that should really be the first thing to like be when we have a treasury. And I do think actually that really moved my needle a little bit with like asking for the milkshake. What Justin said, he's like, even if it's minimal, like you really gotta, like, it's limiting to just factor it out and just say, okay, just volunteering it or donating. It's like, oh well, like I'll just pay for that, and whatever. It's like, let's not let that creep in. Like let's make it a part of our culture that we're taking good accounting, because if we let that sort of slide into the culture, then it'll show up, at the other end of the spiral. It'll be there with us. We'll sort of take it with us, where people are kind of like, well, I'm going to do this, and it's just, yeah. I want to, this vision of a community. I really think open books, and open books. You know what I mean? It's just like there's just a spreadsheet. There's just an open, thing, because so much that's where the buffoonery happens in our economy, where everything is like hidden, and it's all cooking the books, and they hire huge teams. Like there's a giant industry just around like the shell game of our,
Yeah.
and so a lot of that value I think we're going to find is just like strange tokenomic hallucination. It's just like, oh, one corporation shell buys from the other corporation shell. And it may be like just what we're talking about. It's like, well, I put in a milkshake, but then I work for that milkshake so that I just take it out. So but there's an accounting flow that we may learn that that's the beginning of the shell game. But hopefully our culture is intact to see it and be able to pivot. Like that to me is the, that to me is some value.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it just all has to be right. And I think, I mean, I could put the, like what I'm paying for these programs right in the contribution log, but there's also a way where it almost feels like it's separate, in a sense. Like if I was doing like one, it's like, oh, I'm sharing like this one program with HSC, then that might go there. But there's almost a way where it's like the start of the transparent books. You know what I mean? Because there's probably at least four or five programs that are really, that I'm paying for now that are, specifically primarily for HSC. So, it's a good way to just start to say, okay, hey, these are the expenses.
Yeah. I think that's absolutely should be in there. It's funny because, like I was saying, like with these other bigger communities, like for instance, Gimbal Labs, like it's the one that I'm learning the Plutus smart contract thing. And I'm like, what? I don't feel confident without knowing the books. It's just like who is getting scammed? Like who are the slaves here? Like who is being extracted from? And if we take an account, like it's not like we're playing in such a place where that's not going to hurt us. Whereas I think if you're in a business and you put your books open, like why not do it? It's like, well, then my competition, and it's this, or if you're a country or a government and you're like, oh yeah, we've got this, and it's like, oh well, then I see that they're only spending 12 Oreo cookies on their military budget. We're going to invade them tomorrow. I get that. Okay, I get that. That's fine. But for us, like we can start sort of being in this open space, and it's a skill. Like we may not go to the majors, but the skills that we teach all of us little T-ballers, like that will be valuable skills. Like maybe Maggie learns teamwork. Maybe she's not a 350, runners in scoring position, hitter, like maybe she's not a this or that, but she learns like valuable lessons. And so there are a lot. I'd like to listen to that one again. It's 2 hours, but I think we could scan through and get like Well, are we putting them? Where are those videos? Where are our videos?
They're in they're in YouTube, and they're all the same place. And I've put links to the videos in Discord, and also actually I started putting them in the for a while in the meeting notes.
Right.
So you can So as far as the videos, if you click on one, then you're just going to go to that channel, and that has all of them. And then, but also in the meeting notes in Discord, there's the transcriptions, which I like. So sharing the auto transcriptions, which I like, because it's easier to scan through it and get to the parts that I like, and then it's already transcribed in words, so.
Yeah, totally.
So it can be quicker there. Yeah, no, I think there's a lot to review there, and a lot to review and a lot to think about, and I think that's great. I think actually that's like part part of the where we're at now. You know, and this exciting part is to say, hey, we have this, and now like let's bring it out to people and figure out how, you know, like get it away from being theoretical and get it into, you know, the you know, tangible.
Yeah, yeah. I dig it.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go get tangible with the other half of my pizza.
Yeah, get tangible. I'm gonna get tangible with the pavement outside, and
Nice.
then
All right, my man.
all right, man. Well, yeah. Thank you. Good to see you. And you know,
Yeah.
we're doing it. Yeah, 2 weeks away.
It's gonna be cool. It's gonna be cool.
Cool. Yeah, yeah.
All right. See you later.